All right, you know you're a scholar when you're reading Aristotle's Politics. So the struggle here, and I expect you to struggle. We all struggle. This is a hodgepodge of a book, but it is one of the most important books in all of civilization because not because it's a manual, not because it tells us what to do. It's because it raises the right questions, points us in certain directions, gives us a certain perspective, and then offers it as, every once in a while Aristotle makes these strong statements and stuff like that. But when you view the book as a whole, it's obviously sort of a hodgepodge, all right? So I like Aristotle, and I think I would have enjoyed having dinner with him and Herodotus, and what a dinner party that would be. All right, so real quick, this is key. Absolutely key. Every state is a fellowship, a community, a koinonia of some kind. And every community is established with a view to some good. See, this is not about how taking advantage. This is not about being oppressive. This is not about being sneaky and using it, like a competitive struggle of the fittest or capitalistic system. Everything has to be read with an idea that Aristotle's trying to get us to move toward the good. Okay? So this is the beginning, and I want you to read it, but I just want to point out several things here. This is so he jumps in here with the question of the household versus the state, and this chapter 1 or book 1, chapter 1 is about the household. And this is one of the most important things about this book, is it separates the household from the state. The state is primary to him, and we'll get to that. That's where he talks about here that man is a political animal. I like these headings here, but it's here. Hence, one of the great statements: man is by nature a political animal. Okay, he's unable to. If you think if you're not political, you're either a beast or a god. He is no part of the state. But hey, fulfillment for most human beings is part of the state. So the state is foundational, but there's a different thing, which is the household. And the household is run differently, has a different type of management. And this is that we're going to get into this in book 1, which is economics, the household management. And it's the household which is in charge of some things, like making money and things like that, slaves, the relationship to parents and husband and wife, stuff like that. And then the state, it begins in book 3. And that's where we'll start to get into other discussions, such as, fear of power in one place and things like that. Okay, so this is a fun section here, and this classic stuff. And then I wanted to get to this, okay? Mentioned this in the video, but man, this book starts with the oppressed, which is where a political book should start, because the definition of a state is how you treat the oppressed, how you treat the slaves, how you treat the poor, the weak. And then this book ends with music. And so in the household, the fundamental question is there is slavery in the world. Aristotle takes it for granted. Lots of people have slaves. There's slaves all around and stuff like that. But are there forms of slaves which is natural? So this is not all slavery, but is there a natural slavery? And, and he is interested, are there people sort of marked out from their birth as slaves? This is an interesting question, and what you have to think of is a much broader. For Aristotle, slavery is not necessarily oppressive. It's certainly not racial. And so in the sense of modern society, by Aristotle's standards, prisoners in prison are slaves, and children are slaves to a certain extent because they're not allowed to vote and participate in government. All sorts of, slavery is a broad category of people who are denied their rights, and so they're not completely free. But are there natural people who are not free? This is where, he wrestles, and he wants to look at both sides of the question, and it is clear. And when he says it is clear, this is, like when people say it's obvious, it usually means he's got weak evidence. When someone tells you, obviously this is true, they probably don't have good evidence, because no one asserts obviousness until you've got, unless you have weak evidence. In the Declaration of Independence, it is, natural rights is just asserted because there's no other way to prove it. So it's obvious, it's clear then, that some by nature free and others are slaves. And who are these? These are, you have to look at slavery, and we talked about this on the things. They're probably the people who, in the modern world, at least up until recently, were called invalids. Okay, invalids means they're unhealthy. They are invalid as in the sense of capable of human flourishing. Okay, but hey, many people have debated what's going on in his. But this is our issue. Is slavery, and the main thing is that he raises the issue. A lot of people would avoid the issue. He raises it as the first principle of politics. Okay, right up at the front of the book. There's these households and there's slaves. Then he gets into, the rule of the household. Okay, this is one of the really, oh my goodness, passages of the book. Because he wants to figure out what's the the rule of household is a monarchy. This is the thing about households, is that households don't work by state government. Your household probably doesn't work by state government. Dad and mom are dad and mom, and they make decisions. But on the other hand, you work as, you certainly don't work in capitalism. Everybody shares dad and mom's money, and it's so there's a whole different principle to running a household than there is to running a state. And so he has this as, the household is a monarchy. All right, and then where is it here? Oh, I've lost it. It talks a lot about this household management. Where is it here? Where he talks about husbands. Oh, dang it. I'm not seeing it all of a sudden. But this is where the husband, your man and wife there's three types. There's the rule which is a royal rule, and then there's the art of household management here. Maybe I'm getting it here. Oh no, this is earlier on. This is where property. I'm sorry, I'm getting into. This is where he's talking about property. See how this book is, and this is why these are really helpful. These top money making, property, the art of the household management, and he points out that there are limits. That one of the things about wisdom. See, a household management, economics. That's the term, economics. Eco means house. Nomos means the management, the organization, and then ik is the sort of the stuff of the household management. And so he points out here that there's of household management has a limit. That in war and other things there's just these pushing on and on and on. People want to get more and more money and grab more and more territory, but wisdom would have us have limits, and he's going to develop this later in life. And here it is, hence some believe in making money is the object of the household management. The whole idea of their lives is that they ought either to increase their money without limit, or at any rate not lose it. The origin of this disposition in men is that they are intent upon living only and not living well. What a great line. People want to live only, but not live well. And so they just grasp more and more. That's that old Cyrus principle. So the aim of the good life, is to find limits, find moderation, especially in terms of the household management, especially in terms of money. Later in the book, he's going to talk about the middle class. Neither rich nor poor is your strongest class. Now, here's the household management. This is the fun stuff with, okay, so you're, there's three parts. One is the rule of the master over the slaves. Okay, that's just a labor relationship, management and labor. The other is father, and the third is husband. Father is a family relationship, and the third is a husband-wife relationship. And so you have these. So as a person in the household, like the parents have these different roles. Father and mother they're the sort of king and queen over the slaves. They are the mom and dad over the family, and they're also in this awkward relationship between themselves. And he points out that this awkward relationship is constitutional. This is the legal relationship. And so by nature, citizens are equal. So he raises the question, of equality. He wanders into this story of inequality, and then he just drops the whole thing, and he goes into other issues of men and women, and he throws out little pieces like this, that there's a role for women, and I am not sure. I don't know why he does this, but throughout the whole book, he gathers information from various places and from history. And so you get bundles of stuff, which you're not sure if he's recommending it or he's just giving it to you informationally. But I'm not sure how committed he is to this. But this is a thing that, Paul does too in Corinthians. And, and one of the great questions in the Bible is it a law that is to be applied everywhere always and is good, or is it like Aristotle's doing here as sort of a situational thing? So that's book one, and just sort of this, read it, and I want you to, I'm going to give you little hints like this to look for these key parts, all right?